Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Russell Wilson is the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback for week 1, but how long will Mike Tomlin ride with Wilson? Also, the NFC North is going to be fun to watch this year. And it feels like next year's NBA MVP race will be between Luka Doncic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Well, we were sold the idea that it would be a competition, at least nationally, in Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. We got the clips on social media going off. Oh, Justin Fields did this in practice. Look at this throw to George Pickens. And now it's Russell Wilson. He's going to be the starting quarterback. And our pal Chris Carter from Locked On Steelers, for what it's worth, has been telling us for weeks it was going to be Russell Wilson. It was always going to be Russell Wilson. Okay, that's not quite fair. What you said last time we talked, Chris, was what Justin Fields would have needed to do is vastly outplay Russell Wilson. He didn't do that.
Exactly. The way I put it to people is these two were in a race, and Justin Fields got to start at the starting line and run a full mile. Russell Wilson got to start at the 3/4 mark and run a quarter of a mile. And that's kind of what just had to happen there. And that's not to say that the Steelers, betrayed Justin Fields. It's what it was. Justin Fields hasn't had a winning season once in the NFL. You covered him in your time covering the NFC North, Peter. But Russell Wilson, he's won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. He's been a 9-time Pro Bowler. He has 12 years of experience. All the things the Steelers were working on Justin Fields to improve, Russell Wilson already had down. He knows how to go through progressions. He can get the ball out fast. He can also buy time really well and work through progressions and improvise very well. All the things that they're trying to get Justin Fields to improve. And I'll say this, Justin Fields made ground. I said that all throughout training camp on Locked On Steelers. He was getting closer to where Russell Wilson was, even while Russell Wilson just wasn't playing. But it was clear, even in the final preseason game, came out, bing, bang, no problem, understands the offense. And if you were able to watch practice at training camp all summer, you'd be able to say, like, okay, you're seeing the progress of Justin Fields, but as soon as Russell Wilson gets in, it's like he's been practicing the whole time. That's why he was always going to be the guy. It was going to take some Herculean efforts from Justin Fields to do that. He didn't do that, but I do think he's put himself in a position where the Steelers are going to keep close watch on him, and they would not be mad if he ended up being their quarterback next year.
Well, Chris, that's why we have you at practice. So we get to come to you and say, what are you seeing? That's the beauty of the Locked On Podcast Network, of course. So you mentioned this, hey, Justin Fields may be if not a long-term solution in Pittsburgh, a short-term, medium-term, maybe next year kind of solution, maybe, if he continues to progress, right? That's the key piece here. If you had to project, though, how many games? Let me give you like over under 2.5 games for Justin Fields that he starts this season. What are you gonna go with here?
Over under 2.5 for Justin Fields. I'll take the under, particularly because I look at Russell Wilson, and like the last couple of years, it's been a little different. But you look from 2012 to I think 2019, that man didn't miss a game. He played every game of 16 games in the season and handled it well. I think he knows how to protect himself. I think he knows this is partially why they really like him, is that he knows how to protect himself. He knows how to get out of trouble, but also how to just get rid of the football. I think that's where he's going to lean on. I think that you might see Justin Fields for a game, maybe 2 games, but if you put it at 2.5, I don't think that Russell Wilson gets hurt for that long this season. I think that he gets to play. I could be wrong. That's one of the weird things of the NFL. You never know. Russell Wilson strained a calf during the Steelers conditioning drill, and that's why Justin Fields was out there, in that time. So I could be wrong there, but I'll take the under on 2.5.
So we got this vague proclamation from Pittsburgh. Okay, there's actually something special coming with Justin Fields. Is there going to be, we got a Taysom Hill package coming? Is there going to be a 2 quarterback package? Like, give us some insight here. Cause look, I know they're not going to show it to the reporters because no NFL team trusts reporters to show that kind of stuff. That stuff's being done inside, behind closed doors. But you've been covering this team a long time. Mike Tomlin, these dudes. Like, is there going to be some role for Justin Fields on this team, even when Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback? Is he going to be returning kicks? Tell me he's going to be returning kicks.
He's not going to be returning kicks. I'll never forget when that came, when Jaylen Warren said that as a joke during Cam Hayward.
It was in Madden. It has to be true. It was in Madden.
Madden trailer. And I was just like, oh, what bizarre world am I in right now? But that was so funny that happened. But yeah, he's not going to return kicks. I could see him in certain red zone packages, them trotting him out there and having him run the QB option if they have a miss. Like if another team's linebackers are their weakness and they think they can exploit something there, they might, run QB option, read the edge. We're going to run this pass play. It's going to be like just a simple RPO where you get to make the call here. And we want to see you use your athleticism at this point. That might be the extent of it, but I don't think they might pull out the occasional, like, once every other game, like he's out there on the field too, and a double pass and it catches someone off guard once. But I don't think it's going to be a major part of the offense. I do think if they use him, it's more of an RPO in a specific circumstance if they like a matchup they see.
Stay up to date on the Pittsburgh Steelers all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Steelers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the NFC North is going to be close and fun. Before we get to that, Bengals coach Zach Taylor walks back his comments about Ja'Marr Chase. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have a little something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. For that $5 bet, you can take a look at an NFL future. FanDuel has special future bets called Future Fusions. They put together 2 future bets that increase potential payouts. And in a lot of cases, these are not bets you would be able to otherwise link together. Like say you have the dubious distinction of liking the Broncos and the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks, not the Broncos. FanDuel has a fusion of taking the Broncos to win more than 5.5 games this year and the Seahawks to get more than 8.5 wins. Odds on that are plus 350. I kind of like that, actually. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. A few days ago, Bengals coach Zach Taylor said Ja'Marr Chase would be ready to play in Week 1. Taylor had a different tune on Wednesday as he repeatedly said they are taking it day by day with Chase after the Bengals star wideout again did not practice.
I think I probably put my foot in my mouth speaking too quickly. And it's just, again, this is a day-to-day situation. We'll just keep seeing it as that.
The Cubs beat the Pirates 14-10 on Wednesday. It's not football season. That's a football score. As crazy as that score is, consider how far ahead in the game the Pirates were before ultimately ending up blowing it.
The Cubs were down 10-3 entering the 7th inning on Wednesday and stormed back to win 14-11 and sweep the Pirates 14-10, excuse me. The Cubs scored 2 runs in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, and 6 in the 9th. And Sam, we're getting out the brooms for an incredible rally to not only win this game, but finish off the sweep.
You know, in a season that's just been filled with roller coaster type games, gut punch losses, this one is at the very top in terms of thrilling wins, right up there with about a month ago when they came back against St. Louis 4-2 late.
And the Dodgers and Orioles played game 2 of a 3-game set that could be a World Series preview.
For the Dodgers, a 6-4 win. Padres got walked off by the Cards, so they gained a little ground there, but the Diamondbacks took care of the Mets, I believe 8-4 the final. So no blood against the Diamondbacks in the West. Leaves them, I believe, at 3 games. Yeah, 8-5. Diamondbacks take care of the Mets. So Dodgers keep it rolling. what was it? 12 of, after last night, 12 of 17. So now 13 wins out of their last 18 games. Tonight was a nice win on Shohei Ohtani bobblehead night. Leads off the game with a home run. Of course, that was beautiful to see. And then, Joe and Oral started heaping praise, rightfully so. I mean, Shohei, 42 home runs. That is a remarkable season.
The NFC North is, at least according to the odds makers, the Lions to lose. But don't sleep on the Packers. And are the Bears for real? Our Locked On hosts, and of course, me, discuss the division favorites in our NFC North preview.
Lions are favored for a reason. This is where I'm at on this. I mean, the Lions proved a consistency last year. They're running back basically the exact same thing. So there's not a lot of reason to think that there's going to be a different, unless you think that they got particularly lucky last year. But I think a lot of the stuff that they did was really sustainable with the play that they got out of Jared Goff, but in particular, the play that they got out of that run game. That is a backbone that you can build a lot of stuff out of. Ben Johnson is back. I mean, they're running this thing back. And if you look at the Packers and the Bears, there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of reason that I'm sure both of your fan bases are really excited, but it is all still, you need to see the sustained success, right? We got a tale of two halves of the season out of Jordan Love. We don't know. We were excited about Caleb Williams, but he's a rookie. There's still a lot of unknowns there. There's a lot of uncertainty. The Lions are the single team that I feel there is the least uncertainty about them. And also the Vikings will play.
Yeah, 10.5 is the win total, but with our friends at FanDuel for a reason. But Matt, Luke said that they're running it back, but they're not quite running it back. Josh Reynolds out the door. They're trying to
wide receiver 3. All right. Okay.
But he was a crucial piece for them in red zone situations.
Who picked Peter Bukowski to drive this show?
Those are tertiary pieces. The core is as it was,
That's true. They're going to rely on some young players in the secondary defensively. So do you feel like this is just running it back, or is there enough turnover for you to go, no, I have some questions here?
First of all, that cold open, we got to delete that. No, I'm just here's why they are running it back. Pete's not wrong that Reynolds is gone and that Jonah Jackson is gone and all that, but they could not run it back with the secondary they had last year, especially in that cornerback room. So they
not running it back is a good thing there.
Yeah.
Carry-on Arnold, you can be, again, rookie, but yeah.
Yeah, but they've immensely upgraded there with Carlton Davis, 2 rookies. Emmanuel Mosley will hopefully be healthy at some point during the season. It's not a season-ending injury. And Amik Robertson's a good football player. So they've added so much. So I do think they're going to win the division, to answer the original question. And I think that it's because that cornerback room is so much better. Sure, there's going to be questions, but I think with Jared Goff, with the way this offense is humming right now, I think Jamison Williams will take a step up, which will kind of alleviate the loss. A little bit of Josh Reynolds. I am concerned about wide receiver 4 and 5, but that's pretty minor. And the O-line is intact, which it's one of the best in the league. So I like what they did there at the cornerback spot. I think Marcus Davenport will be an upgrade if he's healthy at the opposite edge spot. I think DJ Reader will be really good. So I like where this thing is. It's not going to be easy. Schedule is going to be more difficult. The division's better. But I do agree with Luke. I like the Lions to repeat.
You're not worried about the Sewell injury that he got a foot injury in practice, literally the day we recorded this.
I know that's a big thing, but I think he's going to be all right. I do. All right. He was walking off under his own power. Thank goodness. If this was a carried off or carted off thing, then we might be doing an entirely different show.
Lauren, to your mind, how close are, let's say, the Packers and or the Bears to the Lions right now?
I was going to say, he mentioned Jamison Williams taking a step forward. Just don't tell him the Lions win total this season, or else you might lose them for a few games. I do think this is, to me, the top of this division is teams that are probably a game apart, in the final standings over the course of the season. They're all going to be close. And I think, ultimately I do think Detroit is the team to beat and the team that, I would kind of put my money on until proven otherwise. There's a lot to be excited about with Green Bay. And if they can just pick up where they left off at the end of last season, they're going to be right there neck and neck with the Lions throughout the course of the season. And I think the Bears are going to take a step forward, probably not that big of a step forward, but a step forward nonetheless, where it's you could see these teams being, 11, 10, 9 wins each, where they're all just kind of a game apart, but yet the final order still kind of reflects the Lions are the team to beat. The Packers are still getting there. The Packers are right on their heels, and the Bears are still getting there.
What's interesting is when we were looking at the FanDuel totals, they are just a game apart each. It's 10.5, 9.5, 8.5, 7.5. Like those are the win totals right down the line. So that is certainly how the betting markets see all of this. Let me make the case for the Packers since no one has made that case. Let me do it. This to me is the team in the division that can make the jump to compete with Detroit. Yes, Jordan Love's second half. We'll see if that's real. But in the aggregate, over the course of the season, this was a top 5, top 6 offense, depending on the metrics that you look at. And so, okay, yes, they had this hot second half, but they had a first half where, Luke, you remember this, in the first game against the Vikings, they ran an RPO and they didn't have a receiver out on the pass route. And Jordan Love is going like, what is happening? And
I lost my mind at that. And I don't even like, I want the Packers to fail and I was still upset about it. It's not like this.
Like if you can get some of those brain dead rookie mistakes, this was the youngest group of pass catchers we've ever seen in the modern NFL, a first year starter quarterback, offensive line issues. If Jeff Hafley can help them take just a little step forward defensively, we saw on Thanksgiving, they can go toe-to-toe with the Lions. The question is the consistency over the course of the season. And of course, we just haven't seen that part of it yet. Follow the battle for the NFC North by subscribing to Locked On Sports today. Locked On Lions, Locked On Packers, Locked On Bears, and Locked On Vikings on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. But we all know it's Locked On Packers. Come on now. Coming up, it's Luka or SGA for NBA MVP next season. ESPN ran a survey of front office insiders in the NBA for a little offseason drama. According to the survey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic are the 2 favorites to win NBA MVP. And Locked On NBA host Jake Madison and John Corrales agree.
Interesting that SGA gets 7. I thought Luka might get a few more votes because of the finals run. And people might, if he gets to that, if he gets the Mavs to a higher kind of top 4, top 3 seed, then he has a real good chance of being the engine that gets them there. Maybe having Kyrie on the team takes away, because hey, you've got Kyrie, and there are a lot of good players in the OKC Thunder, but SGA is clearly the guy there. So maybe that's why he gets number 1. Would you have gone any different way?
No, I probably would have picked between one of these two. I think it's kind of splitting hairs if you want one over the other. That's why I think it's so close in the voting here. And it makes sense, right? Luka just took that team to the NBA Finals, carried them a little bit, right? It feels like even with Kyrie there, and they're going to be in the running for it yet again. He's like a triple-double machine, does some things we've just really never seen before. Truly a special player. He's kind of been in the running for the MVP conversation the past couple of years. And then SGA, look, they were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, a brutally tough Western Conference last year. He finished second in MVP voting. If you think this team is going to do well, and we'll talk more about this in the next segment here when we kind of look at the team side of this survey, yeah, it makes sense to put him up there. And you made the really good point of, Luka has Kyrie. He now has Klay Thompson. Maybe that kind of takes away from his stats a little bit. But you look at Oklahoma City and the unquestioned leader, by far, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I think that's the type of thing that maybe elevates him over Luka a little bit.
I agree. This is probably true, but only because the NBA voters have almost entirely forgotten about Giannis Antetokounmpo. When last year, he could not even get in the mix for MVP, when the only good thing about the Bucks, the only consistent thing about the Bucks last year in the regular season was a player that by consensus is one of the 3 or 4 best in the entire league. The guy who was already a 2-time MVP, and we've just gotten bored, apparently. He became the first player in modern league history to average 30 and 12 on 60% shooting. He was absolutely dominant, and he cares every single night. No one in the league plays harder than Giannis Antetokounmpo, and certainly no superstar plays harder on both ends every night than Giannis. In fact, if you can have a criticism of Giannis, it is that he plays too hard in the regular season. And over the last few years, that has caused his body to break down. He doesn't load manage like a lot of these other stars do. And so he ends up playing more games. He plays harder minutes and he has broken down. But that's not his fault. And the playoff shortcomings, I don't want to hear that. He had a 50-piece in a finals game. He is a made man. Joel Embiid won an MVP despite having no postseason success to speak of. So I don't want to hear that argument either. Yeah, Luka Doncic, it's his time. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it's his time. But only because the voters have gotten bored with Giannis and, to a lesser extent, Nikola Jokic. And finally, Malik Neighbors will wear number 1 for the New York Giants. This is notable because he had to get permission from the family of Giants legend Ray Flaherty. Flaherty was the first person to have his jersey retired in NFL history. Neighbors understands the assignment as he addressed in his thank you to the Flaherty family. I understand the responsibility and I will do everything in my power to honor the Flaherty family and this organization. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will Georgia get their first loss of the season in week 1 already? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.